My name is Tony Ferris.
And I'm Jocelyn Barrett.
And we're here to talk about cognitive theory and conflict.
Cognitive theory helps us explain human reasons and the behavior through understanding our thought process, focusing on perception, memory, and the reasoning and the way in which we perceive and interpret such information, and the situations and how this in turn impacts our behavior. During social conflicts, this assists us in understanding the ways in which individuals and groups act to bring about resolve in a conflict, justification for their actions, and the ways in which groups function and structure their values and beliefs during a conflict. To better understand cognitive theory and its assistance in understanding social conflict, we look at separate concepts such as cognitive dissonance, stereotypes, and attribution errors. Our first concept is cognitive dissonance. This allows us to understand an individual's or a group's morals during conflict. This concept is seen when tension is caused by two conflicting parts of ourselves, such as when we believe in something positive about ourselves, but still act in a manner against that belief.
We pulled this meme off of Facebook, and it shows a good example of what cognitive dissonance is and how it might work to create conflict. So each bubble can be seen as an exclusive idea. Someone could be upset about police brutality. Often they feel like they also can't at the same time support good police officers. These are seen as dichotomies, and if they're together, then many people have cognitive dissonance, which is kind of what happens if you're in the middle, trying to hold two of these seemingly opposite ideas at the same time. So this becomes an identity issue that people align themselves politically or socially with one of these ideas against the other.
Our second concept is stereotypes. These are generalizations made about the other group, and as Brown has explained, it helps us understand large-scale social events, justify actions, and the differentiation between groups. They also hold two primary functions in helping us understand social conflicts through the understanding of social structures and the relationship between the groups, and not just the individual cognitive process involved. Secondly, stereotypes, in order to fulfill their function, must be shared among the entirety of the group members, and thus helps us understand group values, beliefs, and the legitimization of actions.
This theme on the left side is from one of my friends on Facebook that I got this morning. It shows stereotypes of people who are protesting police brutality and the Black Lives Movement, and a stereotype of people who are standing instead of kneeling and protesting during the national anthem. Clearly, the top stereotypes people who are protesting as idiots, and the bottom meme stereotypes people who are not protesting as patriots. This shows a clear identification dichotomy that causes conflict. Even posting this post caused a lot of conflict, even within Facebook.
Stereotypes can also be seen within past conflicts, such as the Holocaust and the Rwandan genocide. During the Holocaust, Germans stereotyped Jews as rats and people that were greedy as a means to separate who was German and who was Jew after World War I. This further emphasized the Jewish population as second-class citizens and traitors of the nation, and allowed the Germans to justify and rationalize their actions for the removal of the Jewish population. In the Rwandan genocide, you can see similar stereotyping methods that were used against the Tutsi by the Hutu. For a long period of time, the Hutu population had viewed themselves as a repressed group by the Tutsis, and Hutus believed that they were the rightful defenders of the land. This narrative cast Tutsis as a deceptive race that was out to gain control of the land and massacre the Hutu people as a means to broadcast this ideology and empower other Hutus to foster hatred against the Tutsis. The Hutu dehumanized the Tutsi population through anti-Tutsi propaganda, and this furthered myths of Tutsi as power-hungry, terrible warriors, unintelligent, and served as a direct threat to the Hutu people. This further justified in their minds the extermination of the Tutsi people. Through understanding this type of behavior of the Germans and the Hutus in social conflict, we can then understand how stereotypes were used to develop prejudices that favored the in-group and associated in legitimizing their beliefs and their genocidal actions.
The post on the right is also from this morning, and it illustrates how current conflicts are calling back to World War II. This one is stereotyping Southerners as neo-Nazis and saying that they're happy about protests that are happening turning violent, because that is because they're malicious and manipulative, and they're desirous of violence. I think it's obvious that these types of stereotypes fuel violence and conflict, escalating it and causing these kind of cycles.
The third concept that we're looking at is attribution errors. And these are observations used to infer the cause of another's behavior. They're most commonly seen through observed behaviors as a means to explain situations. The behavior must first be observed, believed to be initially internally performed, and then understood as to why it had occurred.
This post is also from this morning, and it's also from a personal friend of mine. I chose it because it shows the level of violence and conflict that these issues are bringing up for people. This one attributes racist ideologies and motivations to people who are voting Republican or standing on the side of the road and with these American flags. I can see where these types of attributions are probably not accurate, and how it's fueling feelings of hatred and ill content. Additional attribution error examples show attribution of negative emotions, including labels like evil, malicious, and traitorous. So on the left, you see another post from a friend of mine, all these great friends, and he's attributing motivations of evil to police officers. And again, there's some pretty violent language associated with people who don't agree with that point of view. These attribution errors are not just happening in conflicts that we have now. They call to mind traitorous and evil, malicious are all labels to describe past leaders who tried to act outside of these social norms and facilitate peace, like Sadat and Rabin.
Below is our bibliography of sources used to help create this presentation.
We want to thank you guys for your patience in listening to the presentation. Thank you for choosing it, and we look forward to all of your comments and questions.